Well, good morning. Welcome back to Wake Up America. Happy Monday to you. I want to welcome back in our all-star political panel this morning. We start with former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Betsy McCoy, the host of Stacy on the Right, Stacy Washington, former White House Chief Economist Joe Livornia, and political analyst Mark Halperin. Good morning to all. Thank you so much for being with us. Joe, your first appearance here on Wake Up America. Pleasure to have you. I want to get your opinion on what's going on in the Biden Oval Office right now. The administration says that his stimulus plan, $1.9 trillion, by the way, is going to be something that he's going to push. This is not going to help things on Wall Street, though. Interest rates have been extremely low lately. What do you expect? What effect do you expect this to have on things on Wall Street?
Sure. Mark probably has better sense now, with me not being there, what's happening inside the Oval Office. But the Wall Street is like the fact that rates are low, and you did get a $600 unemployment insurance program implemented a few weeks ago. President Biden wants to increase that, so the market is excited about the short-term stimulus. There are certainly longer-term issues. I worry that the risk is we have very ultimately anti-growth, anti-capital formation type of programs that hurt the economy's long-term potential. And what that will do, Rob, is impact productivity growth and living standards, which were rising quite dramatically under President Trump. So the issue going forward will be what gets through. As you know, the Congress is quite divided. So the president may say one thing, but what happens could be another.
Joe, quickly, when did you leave the White House? I know you were there pretty much right up until the end.
Yes, I was. I worked for Larry Kudlow, and Larry was there to the 19th, and as was I.
Wow, and then the inauguration taking place the next day. Mark, we've got a canary in a coal mine happening in the state of Arkansas. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going to announce that she is running for governor there. She is somebody that has been aligned with the president for more than 3 years. This could be a good indicator of how popular the president is with states voting, with those midterms not far away as well.
Yeah, she's announced. She put out about an 8-minute video this morning that I was just watching. It leads with a story about her traveling to Iraq with President Trump, and there's no doubt that she's putting her time in the administration front and center. And I think it will be one of the most watched Republican primaries in the country because President Trump's candidate is going up against two other pretty strong Republicans in the state, including the lieutenant governor. So it's going to be fun and interesting to watch, and I recommend her announcement video to those who want to see a sense of what a Trump loyalist looks at in terms of the issue matrix for 2022, because that's what Sarah Huckabee Sanders is talking about.
We could have two Trumps on the ballot in 2022. We could have Donald Trump's daughter-in-law in the state of North Carolina, Eric's wife. We could also have Ivanka possibly in Florida running against Marco Rubio. So it's going to be interesting to see. Stacy, Joe Biden says he wants that federal minimum wage raised to $15 immediately. I'm not sure. Is he aware that we're in the middle of a pandemic and companies are closing down all over the country?
So, yeah, Rob, I don't think he is. It's a great question. I'd love if I could sit in the room and maybe ask Jen Psaki if he is aware that actually that policy hurts Black teens the most. So studies show that when you raise the minimum wage, when it's a top-down type of an order from the federal government, it leaves businesses in a position where they have to pick who they're going to have remain. And so they keep on their older, more experienced employees, and the teenagers get the axe. And right now, under President Trump, coming out of President Trump's administration, we had the lowest unemployment rate for Black teens in the history of tracking that metric. And Joe Biden's policies will reverse that trend. So it's not just bad for businesses who need to make these decisions on their own. Businesses know what they should be paying their employees. And that relationship between employee and employer is so important because you negotiate with them, not with the federal government. This is a failed idea. Heritage has enough white papers on it for me to build a little end table here. We don't need this policy from him. He should be focused on things that will actually make a difference in the lives of business owners.
Betsy, good morning. The paper of record for the Democratic Party, the New York Times, had an op-ed this weekend calling Joe Biden the most religiously observant president we've had in at least the last 50 years. Of course, the first Catholic since John F. Kennedy. My question, what about, I mean, even in the last 50 years, you could run right through the list, but Jimmy Carter still teaches Sunday school with his wife. George W. Bush would pray before and after every single meeting in the White House.
It shows what a propaganda rag the New York Times has become, really. It's embarrassing to read it if you want news instead of just views. That's all they're presenting, left-wing, hard left-wing views. I wanted to add to what Stacy said. She's right on the mark about the minimum wage. And this move is going to hurt many Democratic voters more than anything else. It's also going to hurt business owners. We in New York are familiar with the $15 minimum wage, but in many parts of the country, that's almost doubling what mom and pop diners and small stores and other businesses pay. And it's going to force businesses to reduce their help or just go out of business entirely. And the point that Stacy made about teens is particularly poignant because right now, in many states, you're allowed to pay teen employees even less than the state minimum to encourage them to go out and get that first job. And this federal bill will eliminate that option. So it's going to be devastating for young newcomers to the workforce and devastating to small businesses struggling to stay alive during the pandemic.
I want to play a quick
Rob,
sound
I
bite
want to
for
just
you.
add something.
Joe, go ahead.
We talked about the minimum wage, but what's been very important is the reduction in the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, which has made the U.S. competitive. And what we saw in 2019, which was the last year for which we had comprehensive census data, is that that corporate tax cut benefited the most disenfranchised and the lowest income groups, where you had a massive increase in both real and absolute terms for all races, ethnic groups. Lower and middle income people benefited the most. So if you overlay a higher federal minimum wage with higher corporate taxes, you're going to hurt the people who have most benefited under President Trump's policies. And I'm sure the Biden administration wants to help these people, no question, but the way to go about it may not be the proper way.
Mark, I want to play a soundbite for you and just get your reaction. Former Senate Majority Leader, now the Minority Leader, speaking about the events that are going to take place in Washington starting on February 8th, trying to impeach President Trump, who is no longer sitting president. Take a listen.
The mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the president and other powerful people. And they tried to use fear and violence to stop a specific proceeding of the first branch of the federal government, which they did not like.
Is Mitch McConnell telegraphing that he does not want Donald Trump running in 4 years?
Well, I think that's probably his preference based on the reporting I've done. But the only way he gets that is if he can find 17 votes to convict the president amongst the Republicans in the conference. I don't think those votes are going to be there. And I think you're going to see, in all likelihood, Mitch McConnell veer back towards making what will be a series of procedural arguments you'll hear from Senate Republicans saying you shouldn't convict the president because of X, Y, and Z, not because of his conduct was not horrible, because a lot of them do think it was, but because they don't want to convict him. They don't think that's the mood of at least of the Republican Party right now. So I think you've already seen Mitch McConnell veer back in that direction from those remarks, and I think you'll continue to see him do that, barring any new information, leading, again, to the question of if Democrats are trying to have an impeachment trial because they say it's the only way to unite the country, it's the only way to get justice, they may end up getting neither unity nor justice if this ends in an acquittal.
Joe, I want to give you the final thought as a first-time panelist. We did the same thing with Stacy last week, and she has been excellent. But President Trump was in office in a very unique time period in our history. We had a pandemic that affected basically the last 25% of his time in the Oval Office. Yet the stock market, it's just unbelievable. It was record after record, particularly with the NASDAQ and the S&P. Why was President Trump so effective at leading our economy?
A lot of reasons. I mean, you had pro-growth, pro-business policies, but also Operation Warp Speed got the vaccines out in record time, and financial markets are forward-looking, and they are discounting the fact this economy will be returning back to something hopefully approaching normal much more quickly than what people believed last year at this time, when the view was the vaccines would be years away. So President Trump deserves incredible credit for getting Operation Warp Speed through. And I'm an optimist, Rob, so I'm hopefully this economy will come back much more strongly, and the markets are right in discounting much better times ahead.
All right, come back and see us, Joe. Panel, thank you so much. Betsy McCoy, Stacy Washington, and, of course, Mark Halperin. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it.
Good morning.